Welcome back, nerds, to Off the Top TCG. I'm joined with my co host, Drew, the law firm Bennett Kennett, and I'm Jeremy Jallin. Today, we got something special for y'all. New set coming out. Drew, what are we going to do?
Yeah, so a lot of you maybe have already picked up 151. I know the Street Day got released early. Some of you have local card shops able to sell it a little bit early. But 151, it's our kind of subset, not a full real set, kind of like Crown Zenith, the Shining Fates, things like that. We have this little special set, smaller than normal. Comes out tomorrow, the 22nd. This video should be uploaded today. So a lot of you maybe already have seen the cards in it. We're here to talk a little bit about what's going to be meta impactful, maybe what cards might be a little bit of duds, and then maybe some fun cards that you can kind of brew with if you're going to some league challenges. Maybe they make it to the league cups, but we'll see.
I mean, knowing our friend group, it's going to be a lot of those bad cards into the League Cups for sure.
And yeah, right now you see the back of our screen, the king, the queen, Mew EX. I believe this is going to be the number one card coming out of this set. It's going to have the biggest impact. We already see it being splashed into many different decks in the Japanese metagame. There's a lot of positive on this card. There's actually really only one negative. This card has Instruct, or on this card it is called Restart, which is draw once during your turn, draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. We've seen this in the past. This type of an effect, we've seen it with on Octillery, drawing till 5, Electrode, drawing till 4. Most recently, a Rangaroo, which was Instruct, drawing until 3. Now we have Mew EX once again drawing until 3. Just an added consistency. A lot of decks, especially with Ultra Ball in the format, running their hands down a little bit, being able to draw up a little bit. It can be the difference between hitting your supporter for the turn and not. The biggest aspect of this card is that it's attack genome hacking. I had to read it because I had no idea what it was called. Mew has so many different attack names, all doing the same exact effect. But this one is genome hacking. Choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon attacks and use it as this attack. It is 3 colorless, which means it's splashable in any deck that can really put 3 energies onto a Pokemon in one turn. If it's sitting there on your bench for a little bit and you have 2 turns worth of charging it up, it's a little bit harder to utilize. Our picture right here, of course, starting out with Lugia and Archeops. One of the easiest ways to get this charged up is that Archeops. You have so many different options. You can attach DT Jet Energy. You can attach Gift V-Guard Jet Energy. There's so many ways in a Lugia deck to be able to charge this card up. The biggest aspect of that attack, which of course the thing that people are talking about is against Giratina V-Star. It is able to one-shot Giratina V-Star using its own Lost Impact. Giratina V-Star, Lost Impact,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yes. Lost Impact to do 280 as long as you don't have a DT, or if you have a choice belt attached, you can use DT to be able to knock out the Giratina. That's the obvious, right? That's what everyone's kind of like. Giratina V-Star is already kind of struggling in tournaments right now. Mew's going to come through. It helps decks like Lugia and another deck we're going to talk about on the next slide here in a second, which had iffy matchups versus Giratina, which is already excellent for those decks, a big power upgrade for them. But what is a little bit less obvious, but still an insanely dominant play, is that now any deck running Radiant Greninja has to put down Manaphy against these decks like Lugia and the next deck we will talk about. And normally they don't have to have that bench space, but because Mew threatens being able to boss up Radiant Greninja and Moonlight Shuriken and take 2 knockouts on decks like Gardevoir or decks like Lost Box, that is a huge threat. They now speed up the game, and decks like Gardevoir and Lost Box do not want the prize trade to be sped up. The faster it's sped up, the less time they have to get fully set up, the less time Guardy has to get 4 Gardevoirs in play, the less time Lost Box has to spread damage around. So that Moonlight Shuriken play is going to be huge and something that isn't the obvious like Giratina. Other thing is it's good against Charizard EX later in the game. Other than that, it doesn't have that many uses. This is not a card you will be using in every single matchup unless you're trying to draw cards with it. Now, its weakness is that it only has 180 HP. I know the crown, because it is the monarch here, is covering that on this picture here, but it does have 180 HP, which means it's going to be getting one shot by everything. It is just going to be dying. It is a glass cannon, usually Mew is, but it does have so much benefit to be able to win the prize trade early on against decks like Tina or anything running Greninja, or just disrupting their board by making them put down the mana fee. That weakness, being weak to dark, not too big of a deal because it has such low HP anyways. It's going to get one shot by everything. It does have free retreat, which Mew typically has free retreat. Always a nice, except for, I guess, Mysterious Tail that we have
Yeah,
right now.
the one that's popular right
the
now.
the one that's legal and good right now. But in the past, most Mew EX cards or V's or any two prize or three prize or Mew has free retreat. Um, but this one, no exception, having that free retreat, which is always nice. But Boss is still in the format. Using it in decks just for the restart ability is probably going to be a detriment. It's just always going to give up those two free prizes to opponents. So when you're deck building, be cautious of that. However, it is going to be a big impact, especially in Lugia, and then also in the next deck that it's going to be in, which is Miraidon.
Yeah, I really do think this card would have been broken if it was 2 energy for its attack, and because it's 3, it really limits the amount of decks that you can use it in, like you were saying. And so far, the only decks that really accelerate energy a lot is Lugia, Miraidon, Gardevoir, but Gardevoir already has enough quality attackers anyway. It's really going to be. Uh, we won't see it in a wide variety of decks, but the decks we do see it in, we're going to always see it in.
Yeah, Baxcalibur is the last one that you
Oh,
might be
yeah.
able to slash this one in. But yes, those are, I think, the three big ones. I don't think we'll see this much in Guardy.
Yeah.
You don't get much advantage from its ability. And I mean, Guardy's Guardy. It's gonna go off, and Zacian's probably just a better attacker against the majority of the field. But yeah, those are definitely where you can expect it.
And then, of course, we're going to the beach now with our resident Miraidon and Flaffy with its Dynamotor being able to get a very quick setup. It allows you to utilize that Mew EX. Not only that, has the free retreat that they've been missing a lot, that they've been playing Flying Pikachu V for, or Zeraora, just to have that pivot option. And then you get another new toy in Zapdos EX from 151.
Yeah, two new toys, both of them free retreaters, pretty much in this deck, which was always something that we had the worst cards ever as free retreaters for that deck. We were playing Zeraora and Flying Pikachu, like you said, just for free retreat. Mew and Zapdos EX definitely big upgrades. Obviously, we just talked about Mew. Flaffy makes it so you can charge it up very easily. Zapdos is the newest tool, I would say, the newest toy for Miraidon players. Its ability, Voltic Float. Yep,
Voltaic.
Voltaic. Okay, Voltaic Float. If it has a lightning energy attached to it, it has no retreat cost. It's a free retreater in this deck. This deck, it's very easy to have one energy on Zapdos. Very rarely is it gonna mess you up. Maybe turn one, or it might mess you up a little bit with that turn one attack. Its attack is not irrelevant. It does 120 and then it's 90. I can't see
Yeah.
because it's wearing a bikini.
it's
But it's
it's 90 and the to one of your opponent's damaged bench Pokemon. So the deck's going to be playing Hawlucha to utilize its ability to spread some damage, and then other than Mew EX copying Moonlight Shuriken from Greninja, they're going to have to worry about Zapdos EX and Hawlucha now. So Manaphy is definitely going to be a card you're going to need against Miraidon going forward.
Yeah, and that Hawlucha Zapdos combo is what won the Japanese tournament in Yokohama, the Champions League, right?
Yeah,
Which I tested a little bit. It's pretty solid. It's kind of weird because Miraidon's not a deck that just has everything to do that sort of combo, but it feels like you kind of just play the Hawlucha down when you see it.
yeah.
It's not something you. It's not like a combo you're trying to hide. You are play down the Hawlucha, deal the damage, either force them to put Manaphy in play, or hey, Zapdos might get the two prizes. which is definitely good. I think people have to play Manaphy in every deck now because even Miraidon and Lugia are hitting benches, which is kind of scary. But this Zapdos is definitely a big upgrade from Flying Pikachu, in my opinion. That text is a lot better than a 50-50 fly that maybe will work
That we
for you.
never see. I always want to
No,
see it in the booth, and we never see it.
never see it. Sejun Park is the one who consistently runs that, and I don't know. Their post about it said that they use it for fly every once in a while, but I think it's an easy replacement for Zapdos right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Let's go on to our next one, and it's going to be kind of a fun one, kind of something that has potential, and that's Blastoise EX. It's 330 HP for stage 2, always really good to see. Solid Shell ability takes 30 less damage from attacks, so you really have 360 HP, and you 2 water, 140 damage for each water energy you discard from this Pokemon. You can discard 2, so 280 cap, but you can recharge it with Baxcalibur. It has a ton of water support with Irida, and I feel like it's something that has potential.
Yeah, Blastoise, I mean, so it is still stage 2, so it does lose points there. But being able to hit 280, its ability is probably the best part about it. Reducing 30 damage, it kind of has 360 HP. Of course, Path shuts it down. Um, but I also want to point out it is discard from your hand. It is not
Oh,
from
discard from your hand.
Blastoise.
Okay.
Yeah, so that even gives it more bonus points, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit better. You can play. It makes it so Baxcalibur, instead of being super reliant on finding superior energy retrieval, you can actually just find a regular energy retrieval. So you don't have to do any discarding because energy retrieval gets back 2 waters. Discard the 2 waters, right? It does 280. I don't think Blastoise is a Baxcalibur card. I think Blastoise is a Palkia card. You use Palkia, charge it up pretty easily. It only attacks for 2. I think it's definitely better in the Palkia Shenpao shell than Baxcalibur. I think it replaces Baxcalibur in the Baxcalibur decks, if that makes sense.
Well, then my meme makes more sense because it's coming to save the dying Baxcalibur.
Right, exactly. However, I do not think it is going to replace Baxcalibur. I think it can, but this card just doesn't give any benefit that Palkia, Shenpao, Baxcalibur doesn't already have. Having a big guy that doesn't get one shot is great, but at the cost of needing more Blastoise and Squirtles in your deck than you do when you're running Baxcaliburs, right? Because Baxcalibur lines, I think the consensus right now has been like a 3 Frigibax, 2 Rare Candy, 2 Baxcalibur has been a pretty popular line. But it's a very thin line. You're not getting away with that if you're running Blastoise. You're going to be running a thicker line because it's going to be your main attacker in these types of decks. So running a Blastoise deck, you want to really focus on the Blastoise. However, the card to me is pretty mid. I think it's overhyped. I know the card is very hyped up, and it was when it was first revealed. It's cool. I like wanting to be able to play Blastoise. Haven't been able to play a Blastoise card since what's that set? What's Deluge Blastoise from? I don't know. Since expanded long time ago, Deluge Blastoise. I don't think I've played a Blastoise card since. Um, but I think cool card. I'll take it to Elite Cup. Probably not showing up to a regionals with it, in my opinion.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And yeah, you're really going to need to build your deck around this Blastoise EX. And while there is a lot of support, there's also a lot of other good decks in the format.
Also, that weakness in the bottom left there,
Oh
that
yeah, it's
little
pretty
yellow
bad.
symbol. Yeah, Miraidon's still pretty real.
All right, moving on to something that still could be pretty real. Mew EX Genesect V, the good old Fusion Mew. I think it's one of the best benefits of this item card in Grabber, being able to look at your opponent's hand, put a basic Pokemon or put a Pokemon to the bottom of their deck. You get to look at their hand, see if you need a judge for the turn, see if you need the path to stick in play. And I feel like it gives Control Mew specifically more game against a lot of the format.
Yeah, definitely better in DT Mew right now. Fusion Mew probably can't fit too many of these, and this is a card you want turn 1 or 2 just to look at your opponent's hand. I'm annoyed that Mew, no matter how many counters we get, it feels like it keeps getting additional support as well, which is something that's frustrating as someone who does not like this deck. Will never play this deck in a regionals, but it is still a solid deck. And Grabber, worst case scenario, is you -1 yourself so that Genesect can burn through your deck quicker. Right? Worst case is it replaces itself with your next Genesect. Card's very good. I don't know how many copies it's gonna be ran as. I can see anywhere between 2 and 4. I don't think you ever just play one of them though. So 2 or 4, depending on how impactful or how disruptive your Mew list is going to be. So definitely a good card. Probably the best trainer from this set. I think the only one we're talking about is Grabber. I hate that they changed the name. It
Yeah,
should have been. It was Snatch Arm. That's way cooler. But Grabber is our English name for it, so we have to live with it.
go America.
But yep. But yeah, Mew, Fusion Mew or Control Mew Grabber is gonna be seen. Not really anything you can do about it. Just have the out in your hand so they judge you, I guess.
Yeah, and it's basically it. And it's still a lot of judge, pass, and pray, but now they get a little bit more information to do with what they will. You could also put card back like the Luminion V that was in your hand to break you out of the path lock because you had a stadium and you can fetch a supporter. A lot of utility. Who knows if it'll really push Mew back into that like winning scenario, but I think it'll push Mew enough to where we're gonna see more Drapion, more uh just kind of Mew counters like Spiritomb see play because it's a one of card that you can play, and this card will make Mew annoying enough to where you might have to deal with it in the tournament.
Yeah, and one more thing about Grabber that's kind of underrated for the card is people do not play down multiple bench Pokemon to start the game. If you Gardevoir for a perfect example, if you open your Mew, you're playing down your Mew, and you're holding on to the Ralts in your hand or the Radiant Greninja in your hand, right? Because you do not want to get E-roped. E-rope was the only disruption. Back in the day, we had red card, so there were times when you would play down all your basics turn 1 before the game even started. Grabber can mess up some people turn 1 because you're trying to play around Escape Rope, but you don't play around Grabber. They put the Ralts back in your deck. You're down 1 Ralts that you should have already had. But do you play around that or do you play around Escape Rope? Because Escape Rope in Mew is also a very real card. So that's some extra little mind game plays with Grabber. Anytime you can see a card in your opponent's hand, or anytime you can see cards and disrupt your opponent's hand like that, it definitely causes a lot of issues. And I believe Grabber is a forced. I believe you have to put down the Pokemon. I don't think it's a May.
Uh
Oh no, it's not
put it
putting
to the
down. Put it to
bottom.
the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So you have to. So it's not like you can, if your opponent's playing like a barrel deck, right? It's not like you can say, "Oh no, I want you to keep that," so you draw one less card, right?
Yeah.
That you have to actually do it. So it could benefit them later in the game, not necessarily early on. So just kind of a balancing act with that card.
All right, and moving on. You got Arbok EX. Menacing Fangs is really what you're using it for. 3 dark energy, 150 damage. Your opponent discards 2 cards from their hand. We're talking about disruption again. Now, this can go paired nicely with something like a Path Judge combo. Roxanne your opponent to 2, and then discard both of them. And I feel like Darkrai EX is the one deck that can really support it. You can get multiple Dark Patch and get it up. It is a stage 1 though. It can use the new tool card that's coming out that reduces 30 damage done to your stage 1 Pokemon. Gives it a little more HP, but it is something that I think people are going to be trying to mess with.
Trying to mess with, maybe not having too much success. I love this card personally. I think Arbok is, every time I see Arbok, I remember that's a cool Pokemon. I like it, right? So I do like the Cobra. in Arbok, but this card is just a disruption card, and it's only a disruption card when you're close to losing. It is only disruption when if they knock it out the next turn, you lose the game because they have to have two cards in their hand or two prizes left in order to Iono them. I guess Roxanne plays some extra tricks if they're at three, but typically you're going to be using this with Iono because it's just easier to get that combo off. So Dark Patch has to be in the deck. Darkrai V Star definitely the only partner unless there's some control variant. I'll let Sander figure that out. I'm not going to deal with it. Card's cool. I want to play it. It reminds me of Malamar VMAX. A lot worse, but reminds me of Malamar VMAX, and I always loved playing Malamar, so it'll be a fun deck.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. It definitely has potential just because disruption always has potential. We've seen it just keep Mew around for forever. Miraidon even dipped its toes. Arceus is still sticking around just because disruption and having your opponent not play the game while you're just able to consistently put on some pressure is good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Disruption's always good. This Arbok, unfortunately, it's late game disruption instead of turn one disruption, which is always the strongest. This card, don't if you pull it, hold on to it. Don't buy it. Don't be buying it. Don't be trading too much for it. It's definitely going to be a bulky X for a little while right now.
Yeah. Now, speaking of cards that are much needed, this Charmander is finding its home in any Charizard EX deck, having 70 HP to help against Sableye of this the menace of this format. And
We did it.
And its attack's not too bad either, discarding a stadium in play for a fire.
Yep, we did it. Charmander, my favorite card in the set, best card in the set. Mew, go side Mew. It's Charmander. 70 HP, huge. No longer are you losing two Charmanders to a Lost Mine. If they're playing Halucha, they're playing Halucha, right? They can take two 70 HPers. More Lost Boxes might throw Halucha back into their deck because it's good against Ralts and it's good against Charmanders now. And if Charizard gets set up, Lost Box is not uh, it's not a good matchup for Lost Box. They have to get the disruption happening. So yeah, this 70 HP Charmander, not to mention has built-in path removal. Yeah, unfortunate you have to use your attack, but built-in path removal can go a long way with getting your setup, especially when you're only giving up one prize because your board's all one prizers. It's Pidgeys, it's Charmanders, or it's Bidoofs, whatever version you're running. So charm or Comfies. Sorry, I forget the lost zone version of this deck is the most popular one right now. Card's best card in deck. Look how cute it is. The full art's amazing. The alternate art, character rare, whatever you want to call it, amazing. I'm not even a Charizard. Charizard's not my favorite Pokemon, like it is a lot of people. But this Charmander is right now. So
Yeah, it's pretty crazy how much of a difference this will make in that Lost Zone matchup for any Charizard deck. And like you were saying, if you need to attack to discard a stadium, you give up a prize. Oh, what happens when you give up a prize? Charizard deals more damage? It's
we're
fine. Yeah, it's worth it.
yeah, we somehow got to those odd prizes. Weird. When you're at one prize, I'm one-shotting everything in the format. This is cool.
But yeah, I think this will probably be the most impactful card of the set, and it's crazy to think that it's a common,
Yeah.
like a basic common. Uh, but yeah, make sure you get these for your Charizard decks. You'll see a bunch more Charizard decks in the format, and I don't know. I think Peoria is going to be pretty exciting because we're going to see a ton of Charizard.
Yeah, I think Peoria is going to make people realize Charizard is a real deck. Honestly, in Barcelona, it already, with the top four, kind of started being on people's radar more than it was for Pittsburgh. But I think we are going to see a lot of successful Charizards in Peoria.
And then now we got to welcome back a Pokemon line that's been gone for forever. It seems like it has been ages since we've had a Kadabra card in the format, and honestly, ages since we had an Abra card. The last Abra card was what, like Mysterious Treasures, that skipped an
Yeah.
evolution to the Alakazam, so you didn't need the Kadabra.
Yep.
And then other than that, we've had like Alakazam, like basic two prize Pokemon.
Yep. Always having the Alakazam be the basic for the last 10 years, whatever it's been, so long. Kadabra, the coolest part of the line. It only has one spoon, but it has spoons. So it's awesome. Love to see the Kadabra back. Wish it was more playable. But unfortunately, we'll take what we can get with Kadabra. Just cool to be able to open packs and pull a Kadabra, in my opinion. But the real card that's semi-playable, maybe a little bit, not really, is Alakazam EX. It's playable because apparently it's not bugged on PTCG Live.
Oh,
So it dropped and it's not bugged, which is impressive because this is a attack that I thought would bug the game out very easily. So go them, go Pokemon. Maybe this is the silver lining. It's the start of the new era of PTCG Live, the Alakazam EX effect. Let's hope for it.
yeah, it has Dimensional Hand, 120 damage for 2 Psychic. You can use the attack even if it's on your bench. So it's going to be paired a lot with stuff like Klefki, Diancie, and just cards that make it annoying for your opponent if they're in the active spot. 120 damage is not a lot. You're able to have a pretty great matchup against Lost Box, right? You can just 120 with a Klefki in the active the entire game, and you're sitting pretty, but you're not going to have a big damage ceiling. And then Mind Jack, 90 damage, 30 more for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. That could get up there, but your opponent can play around it really easily. And I feel like if it's not paired with something to help its damage output, then it's not really going to be a deck. But I think it's going to be a deck people are going to try. I'm going to try it at least for sure. I'll bring it to a cup.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think this is a card that its stock will go up the less sets there are. So, aka a rotation. This card has the potential. It seems like Pokemon is trying to power creep down slightly. In the idea of how much damage Pokemon do. And the fact that I think there's going to be less basic Pokemon that are dominant is kind of what I'm expecting from the new formats that they're trying to create. Right now, we're in an awkward time period where we're mixing three formats, I think, right now. It's kind of crazy. Three different blocks of sets. So there's a lot of power levels that are just too high for some of these new cards. A lot of power levels in the new cards that are just too low and can't compete. Alakazam's in that section, and I think it has potential because it will always be in the format with Klefki. And as long as it's in the format of Klefki, cards like Mimikyu, which has the safeguard, it's going to have a chance. Mind Jack just doesn't do enough damage right now. It needs a better damage output, and that Mind Jack attack is actually the thing holding it back, I would say.
Yeah, it is great to see, but we'll have to see if it can do much of anything in the format. There's just a lot of good cards right now, and they're all sitting at the top, kind of keeping to themselves.
Yep, not much disrupting them.
Now, here are some of the other cards we kind of just picked out. Drew only picked out a couple of these. I picked out the rest. You can probably tell which ones I picked out. Uh, not every Pokemon card has the potential for greatness, as said by the great Drew Bennett Kennett.
It is true. Not every card is going to be great. There's one card on here that I don't know. That Dodrio might that Dodrio has the potential up there in the top middle there. You can kind of see its little beak poking out there. Dodrio could be good. It's a little bit of a draw engine. Doesn't draw a lot of cards, but yeah, no, these cards. A lot of this set is bad. It's just bad. We're not gonna go through every card in this set, but they're bad.
These ones at least have cool abilities or cool attacks that can supplement some cards that we already have. So, like you mentioned, the Dodrio, Hisuian V Star or Hisuian Zoroark V Star does damage 50 damage for each Pokemon that is damaged on your bench. Dodrio damages itself, draws cards. It's a good pairing, and you have cards like Aerodactyl where you could kind of get it out, and it's amazing against any of these stage 2 Pokemon because no one's playing stage 1s. The Nidoking and Nidoqueen are kind of cute. Nidoqueen is
Always.
Queen Press, which is the same as Obstruct from the Galarian Obstagoon we used to have. Prevent the damage from your opponent's basic Pokemon, so that could kind of be used, and the Nidoking can attack for free if you have Nidoqueen in play, and it does 190 and poison, so two stage twos, but it could be kind of cool. The Vileplume, when you evolve it, you get to look at the top 8 cards, attach any number of basic energy to your Pokemon in any way you like. That could be pretty fun. The Gloom also has that same ability, but for 3 cards. And we could see a deck built around that, charge up something, maybe Turbo Arbok EX, and then Judge
Okay. Okay.
Path. Yeah? No.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
I put the Venomoth there. You can see Perplexing Powder. 1 grass, 30. Your opponent's active is confused, and then they can't play items from their hand next turn. It is just an overall better Banette EX, and people have been trying to make Banette EX work for ever since it got released now. So it's something that I think has a lot of potential. Maybe to be good, not great, but 90 HP, you could level ball, rescue carrier in it. I'm going to be trying it out for sure. And Mr. Mime is all right. I feel they just missed it on being a good card. And then Wigglytuff EX, I think probably has the most potential out of everything here. 250 HP. If it has any special energy attached to it, gains 100 HP more. And then it does 90 plus 90 if you played a supporter for the turn for 3. Colorless Pokemon are good at tanking. You have Charon's Care in the format still. The new tool to reduce 30 damage, and the deck's cool. Loses the path to the peak. Like, hardcore.
Definitely struggles against pad. Definitely struggles against anything that can hit 350 or 380, which they do exist. It's Shenpao.
Yeah.
It exists. It's hard. It's not easy for them to do, but you're only doing 180, so they have plenty of time because you can't even one shot a Shenpao with 180 damage. So they have plenty of time to even. I don't know. It's I want Wigglytuff to be good. It's such a cool EX. The fact that Wigglytuff EX is existing makes me excited. Honestly, the best card on here is Aerodactyl just because of the artwork. That artwork is so cool. Um, but I do love the fact that they gave Aerodactyl this attack, and a bunch of people sent it to me like this is a cool attack. And then a week later, we start seeing cards from Paradox Rift, and we get that tool that just is ATM Rock that brings like just de-evolves, and it's just way better and just made Aerodactyl like, oh, now I just have cool artwork. My attack's not even that good anymore. But I do love that artwork on that Aerodactyl. The artwork in this set is phenomenal. Which, if you are a collector, there's not actually that many alternate arts or character rares, but I believe they're much harder to get in this set than in past sets. But if you're a collector, the artwork in this set is very good. So that's a plus.
Anything else you think we missed, Drew? You want to touch on?
I don't think so. Really, final thoughts is don't spend too much money trying to buy singles in this one. Mew's not even going to be a 4 of in any deck. It's of 1, maybe 2 if you're feeling extra spicy. And that's going to be the most expensive playable card. So don't spend too much on this set. Don't have too high of expectations right now. And don't spend too much time testing all of these things. Maybe you'll find the diamond in the rough, but these cards are pretty low power level compared to what we have right now.
Yeah, kind of just save your money for those ETBs. Try to pull those alternate art cards that are just gorgeous, beautiful in the set. Uh, and I think, yeah, you said it best. Most of the cards in this set are going to be like a one of in some of the decks that we have already. And because of that, their price isn't going to be that high. Usually, what draws the price up in a card is the fact that everyone needs 4 of them for a deck. Like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I need 4 Lugia V and then 3 Lugia V Star. Well, they're going to be a little bit more expensive than if I would need a 1/1. Uh, and yeah, the card that you're gonna probably need four of is Charmander.
Yeah, Charmander or Dodrio, maybe Doduo. I think that's the only Doduo that would be in the format. But yeah, this set it's going to be a very fun and cool set to open. So honestly, I don't promote it all that often, but this is a set you don't buy singles of, and you just buy it to open the packs and hopefully pull some of those alternate arts, because the singles for the alternate arts for anyone who loves the max rarity, those are going to be a little pricey, especially for the first two regionals, Peoria and Sacramento, because the set's still going to be brand new. But honestly, I'm gonna buy this set just to open it, more so than I need cards for competitive, because it just seems real cool. Not to mention it's the original 151. Yeah, new effects, new artworks, but it's still just 151 Pokemon. We're gonna have a lot of nostalgia opening only base set Pokemon.
Yeah, I'm comparing it a lot to X and Y evolutions. At least when it first came out, like people just did not like it as prize support, other than opening it because it was really fun to open, but the cards were just not worth anything. And this, I feel like, is going to be the same kind of thing where down the line, this set is going to be so expensive.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we're talking a little bit down the line, holding on to it. The other thing is there's no boxes of this set. It's ETBs are the biggest like product. So yeah, that's another aspect of there's not going to be as many sealed products 10, 15 years down the road.
Yeah.
But it's exciting. I'm excited to have new cards. There are new tools. I think the meta will shape up a little bit different because of it, but it's not, there's no new archetypes here. It's all text for new decks. It's not, or for decks that already exist. No new archetypes, which is nice. I like not having a broken archetype every single set that we have. So that's cool.
You're forgetting about the new Queendom, Drew. It's going to be pretty broken.
Listen, if someone does well with Queendom, I am on board. That would be very cool.
All right, well, that does it for us for today. Hope you guys liked our kind of card breakdown from 151, and we're going to hopefully have one of these for the cards that were previewed from the new Paradox set. So stay tuned to our channel. We'll be keep posting content, and get ready for Peoria regionals as well. Don't go anywhere, and be sure to like and subscribe.